Welcome back to our channel, where we dissect every hidden detail and unravel the deepest mysteries of our favorite dramas. Today is a beautiful day to plunge into the absolute madness that just unfolded on screen. So grab your detective hats and let's get straight into the chaotic theories we need to discuss. Okay, I've been thinking about this and my brain is just doing backflips right now. The latest episode, I am still processing it. Jacob finding Leia dead in the hospital. I can't shake this feeling that we are missing something massive here. We all saw Jacob's face, right? That absolute, soul-crushing shock when he walked into her room. She was just supposed to be recovering. She was treating her wounds, hooked up to the monitors, supposedly in the safest place possible. But then, boom, she's gone, murdered. Right there in the middle of a bustling hospital ward. And my immediate thought was, why there, why then? It feels so incredibly reckless, like basically suicide for any standard assassin, which means the motive had to outweigh the immense risk of getting caught in a building swarming with doctors, nurses, and security. Let's talk about that hospital setting for a second because this is what's been bothering me the most. Why silence a target in a crowded public facility? Usually, in these narrative structures, if we're looking at the dramaturgical pacing of the show, you'd wait until the target is isolated. You'd intercept them on the way home, or poison their drip in a subtle and traceable way. But this felt brutal. It felt urgent. The killer had to silence her immediately. Why? Because Leia was about to talk. She was on the verge of revealing the absolute truth about plasmas. I think back to an episode. I want to say it was around the middle of the season, where Leia first started hinting that she had uncovered a discrepancy. She knew something. And the fact that the killer struck right then and there means she was probably hours, maybe even minutes, away from handing that information over to Jacob. The urgency dictates the location. They couldn't wait for her to be discharged. But that doesn't explain why the hospital staff didn't see anything. Or does it? Okay, let me rethink this. What if they did see something, but they were paid to look the other way? No, that's too simple. A massive conspiracy involving an entire hospital wing is too messy. Too many loose ends. It makes much more sense if there's a specific, highly placed mole within the hospital staff. Someone who secretly works for plasmas. Think about it. A doctor or a high-ranking nurse who has access to patient charts, who knows exactly when the security patrols happen, who can administer a lethal injection or tamper with the life support without raising a single alarm. This hospital mole theory perfectly bridges the gap between the audacity of the crime and the flawless execution of it. They use the chaos of the hospital as a shield. Wait, let me backtrack. I need to talk about Jacob's reaction again because I think I misread it the first time I watched the scene. Was Jacob truly shocked just because Leia was killed? Obviously, grief is a factor, but look at his eyes in that final frame. There was this creeping terror. I don't think he was just mourning her. I think he was experiencing a catastrophic paradigm shift. He realized something far more horrifying in that exact moment. What if he recognized the method of the murder? What if the way Leia was killed may be a specific knot on a ligature, or a unique chemical residue left behind, or even a symbolic calling card was something Jacob had seen before? He's standing there, staring at her lifeless body, and the realization washes over him. The nightmare isn't over. Which brings me to the absolute core of my existential dread regarding this plotline. Did Jacob actually dismantle plasmas? We've spent the last dozen episodes operating under the assumption that the organization was utterly destroyed. Jacob took down their leadership, he burned their infrastructure, he wiped out their offshore accounts. We thought he won. But what if he just trimmed the branches while the root remained completely intact? What if plasmas isn't just an organization, but an ideology or a decentralized network? The fact that they could orchestrate a flawless hit inside a hospital strongly suggests they still possess significant operational capabilities. I'm starting to think the takedown was a carefully orchestrated illusion. They let Jacob think he won so he would lower his guard. And Laya paid the price for his false sense of security. Strange, really strange. The whole thing is strange. If Plasmas is still active, who is pulling the strings? Is there a shadow leader we haven't met yet? Oranda's thought literally just crossed my mind, and it's terrifying. Is it a survivor from the old Plasmas regime who is now back for revenge? Someone who lost everything when Jacob tore the organization apart, and now they are systematically dismantling his life, starting with Laya. A revenge plot adds a deeply personal layer to the systemic threat of Plasmas. It transitions the conflict from a purely ideological battle to an intimate, psychological war. The killer didn't just want to silence Laya, they wanted Jacob to find her. They wanted him to feel that profound, agonizing helplessness. Let's pivot to the technical side of the murder because there's a massive glaring issue that I can't ignore. The security cameras, the footage was completely wiped immediately after the murder. Now, deleting server-side security footage in a modern, state-of-the-art medical facility isn't something you just do by hacking a random terminal in the lobby. You need high-level administrative access, or you need to physically destroy the server drives. This points back to the hospital mole, right? Or perhaps Plasmas has a cyber warfare division that survived Jacob's purge. But honestly, the sheer speed of the deletion, the fact that Jacob couldn't even get a glimpse of a shadow in the hallway implies a level of premeditation that is genuinely chilling. It means the killer had a team, a spotter, a hacker, an executioner. For one woman in a hospital bed, what did she know? What could possibly warrant a multi-tiered assassination operation? Let's hypothesize. Maybe Laya didn't just find out about Plasmas. Maybe she found out who Plasmas really is. What if she discovered that someone incredibly close to Jacob, someone in his inner circle, is actually the architect of the organization? That would explain the absolute necessity of silencing her before she could speak to him. If she had just found a cache of weapons or a bank account, they might have tried to discredit her. But she found an identity, a betrayal. And this makes me wonder, did Laya leave a dead man's switch? Did she secretly record a conversation related to Plasmas? It's a classic narrative device, but it fits her character perfectly. Laya has always been pragmatic. She wouldn't just sit in a hospital bed knowing she possessed lethal information without creating a backup plan. I am almost certain she recorded something. A voice memo on her phone, a hidden USB drive slipped into the lining of her hospital bag. Or maybe she mailed a physical letter to a secure location right before she was attacked. If there's an audio recording floating around out there, maybe a conversation she overheard between the mole and the Plasmas operative, it changes the entire trajectory of the season. I mean, not exactly, but something like that. Or maybe she didn't record audio, but she left a cryptic clue. Blood on a specific document, a highlighted word in a magazine she was reading. I'm overthinking the medium, but the message has to be there. The writers wouldn't just kill off a character with that much narrative momentum without leaving a breadcrumb trail for Jacob to follow. The entire thematic resonance of this season has been about secrets buried in plain sight. Laya's final act, even in death, has to be the catalyst that shatters the illusion of Jacob's victory over Plasmas. Let's go back to Jacob's psychological state. The cognitive dissonance he must be experiencing right now is staggering. He's the hero who saved the day. He defeated the dragon. And yet, the princess, for lack of a better trope, is dead in the castle. If he realizes that his victory was a sham, how does he process the guilt? He told Laya she was safe. He promised her that Plasmas couldn't hurt her anymore. Her blood is essentially on his hands, not because he killed her, but because his hubris blinded him to the lingering threat. This isn't just grief, it's a complete deconstruction of his identity as a protector. I'm worried about what he's going to do next. He's going to become unhinged. He's going to tear that hospital apart looking for the mole. And who is this mole? Let's do some process of elimination. It can't be one of the main doctors we've trusted, right? But narrative juxtaposition often dictates that the most trusted ally is the most devastating traitor. If a trusted doctor is the plasma's operative, it would perfectly explain how the killer bypassed all the medical safeguards. They could have easily altered Lia's charts to ensure she was given a sedative, making her completely defenseless when the assassin entered. But that doesn't explain why a doctor would risk their entire career and cover. Unless Plasmas has something on them, blackmail a kidnapped family member. The layers of coercion in this show are always incredibly dense. Okay, I know I just said the opposite, but listen to me. Maybe there is no mole. Maybe the killer is just that good. A phantom, a ghost in the machine. But no, that's lazy writing. And this show isn't lazy. There has to be a physical connection. Someone opened that door. Someone wiped those cameras. Someone ordered the hit. The lingering presence of plasmas is like a dark cloud over everything now. We thought the sky was clear, but the storm was just gathering strength. I'm convinced that the next few episodes are going to be a brutal, paranoid thriller where Jacob trusts absolutely no one. He's going to have to rebuild his entire understanding of the enemy. Plasmas isn't a snake you can just cut the head off of. It's a virus, and it's infected the very people he trusts. Let's dive deeper into the concept of a survivor from plasmas. When Jacob executed his master plan to bring down the syndicate, he focused on the financial backers and the operational commanders. But what about the zealots, the true believers? Plasmas wasn't just a corporate entity dealing in illicit activities. There was always this underlying cult-like devotion among its lower ranks. If a mid-level enforcer or an intelligence officer slipped through the cracks during the raid, they wouldn't just disappear into the night. They would fester. They would view Jacob not just as an adversary, but as a blasphemer who destroyed their life's work. This survivor wouldn't have the vast resources of the old plasmas, which actually makes them infinitely more dangerous. They are operating purely on vengeance and asymmetrical warfare. They don't care about rebuilding the empire. They only care about burning Jacob's world to the ground. Assassinating Lei in the hospital wasn't a strategic move to protect an asset. It was a psychological strike. It was a message written in blood. You took what I loved. Now I take what you love. This fundamentally shifts the genre of the show from an espionage thriller to a relentless revenge horror. And regarding the deleted security footage, I can't let this go. The sheer technical proficiency required to scrub a closed-circuit network without triggering a localized failsafe alarm is staggering. Maybe it doesn't matter, but I noticed in the background of the hospital lobby scene, just moments before Jacob walks in, there was a maintenance worker fiddling with a junction box. Was that the physical breach point? If the hacker didn't use administrative credentials, they must have spliced directly into the hardline. This means the operation was a coordinated, multi-person strike team. One person on the junction box, one person in the security room causing a distraction, and the executioner slipping into Lia's room. This level of coordination proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Plasmazor, whatever is left of it, is highly organized. Jacob is walking into a trap, and Lia's death was just the bait to make him act irrationally. He is going to lash out, make mistakes, and alienate his remaining allies. The tragedy isn't just that Lia died before she could reveal the truth. The tragedy is that her death is the very mechanism the enemy is using to destroy Jacob from the inside out. What was I saying? Oh, right, the recording. I just hope Lia's secret recording, if it exists, is found before the virus consumes Jacob entirely. It's a lot to process. I need to rewatch the hospital scene and check the reflections in the medical equipment. Maybe the killer caught their own reflection. I don't know. My brain is fried. Everything we thought we knew is a lie.